Welcome to another episode of the S.E.M podcast. Jack Bryce and Zach Hewlett are here again, and today we're joined by Martin Quick. How are you, Martin?
I'm doing well, thank you. It's good to meet you both.
It's good to meet you.
Definitely. You're Zach's great-grandfather, my grandfather.
That's right.
And
Yeah.
I guess you have the
family meeting.
Does this count as family history then?
That's right.
That's right. This is our genealogy for the day.
Perfect.
Yeah. So, well, Martin, where are you calling from today?
So I live in a place called Hereford, which is the back of beyond, really. So it's kind of as far across England as you can get before you hit Wales.
Okay, cool.
So it's properly, well, it's the boonies basically. It's really countrified and it's great. It's really great.
Excellent. All right. Well, Martin, start us off with how you ended up in Scotland. Leading up to the mission. I think your story is unique to most of us, but go ahead and share that with us.
Yeah, and actually, I think it's probably wise as I do in many ways. I think it kind of explains a bit about how I was as a missionary. I'll get into that later on, but I think I probably was a bit intense for some of my companions, and there's kind of reasons for that. I think, well, partly it's because of me anyway, I suppose. But so I joined the church in my 20s. Because a very long story short, so I spent about 18 months kind of on and off, mostly trying to pick holes in the missionaries' arguments because I didn't want to be committing myself to a church. So I had a deep belief in God and I prayed to him since being very small. But I had no interest at all in joining any church. And so for me, that I was quite resistant to that whole idea. But anyway, after 18 months of, like I say, challenging missionaries, I had some really special experiences, which kind of, for me, was just so helpful. I'll give you one insight now, just because I think it's important. But on my day I was baptized, and back in those days, you had to wait a week before you can be confirmed a member of the church. Mm-hmm. And so I waited a week, and then it happened to be what was the traditional Pentecost. And so I thought, that's quite cool. And just as a bit of background, I'd read the whole Bible in that 18 months.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So I was quite, not deeply familiar, but I was familiar with some of the stories and things. It's like, oh, how cool was that to kind of receive the gift of the Holy Ghost on that same day, or that traditional day. Mm-hmm. So anyway, the day came, I was confirmed. And I was waiting for this big experience, thinking, wow, I was going to be cloven tongues, all this stuff. Anyway, I sat down, nothing happened. I was like, what? Is that it? And I was gutted. But then at that point, as I thought that, immediately I just felt filled with something. It was just really unusual. And I felt this immense love for everybody. Just this charity just washed over me. And it lasted the whole day. It was just incredible.
That's awesome. I love that.
Yeah. So I had a few experiences. One was when I reading the scriptures and I felt really impressed. And the Spirit basically kind of confirmed that I should go on a mission. But it took me a long time to get there. So when I joined the church, I was in my 20s, and it took me just over 2 years to get out, because I had a business with a mate of mine. It wasn't doing particularly well, and then I had this experience about going on a mission, so I left that. But it had a bit of business kind of startup debt, and I was convinced that if I went on a mission, that the adversary would kind of thwart things and make the business go under, and have to come back to try and sort out all the financial mess. So I spent a long time trying to just do a couple of jobs and try and pay off that, so that I could go without having to worry about anything. So it took a while. So then finally I got to a point where I could put my papers in, and I was like, yes, that's it now. So at this point, I was 25, okay? And this is kind of being in February, I put my papers in, and I'd seen all these missionaries who got their papers back after 6 weeks, and then they were off, and a couple of weeks later, I thought, yes, this is it now. Anyway, it took forever. And then when I did get the papers back, they were like, we weren't leaving until the end of June. So my birth is in September, so I just literally missed the cutoff by like a couple of months. It was mad.
Wow.
So yeah, I was an old man, as some of my companions ribbed me for a bit later on. I was known as Pops Quick for a bit.
I love it.
That's great.
That was June of what year?
That was 2002.
Okay.
So the very end of June, I went into the MTC there. And so that was a cool experience. I lived in Manchester at the time. So it's like literally just got in the car, 40 minutes. I think I went to the temple before I went into the MTC because I had some time to kill. It was like that close.
Perfect.
Yeah,
That's
it
great.
was. Yeah.
So
So go on.
Yeah, so we're gonna skip from there now to 2004 when you got back, and we want to know what you've been up to since then.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, a lot of stuff. It's been a long time. So, so it took me a while to get married. So I do everything slowly. Mission 26 nearly. I didn't get married till I was like 32. Wife's lovely. She had 2 teenage boys at the time, so we got together. They were brilliant though. But I say that because we've got a grandson now. So I don't know how many of you are.
Wow.
We are Pops Quick.
Yeah, I really am. Yeah. So I've got a little boy called West who's 4 now, and he lives in Utah. So yeah.
Awesome.
But yeah, I was a teacher in high schools for about 16 years. I've just fairly recently switched careers now, so I'm coaching people. I'm a neurodiversity coach now. And that's about it, really. Just doing my thing.
Very good.
So you have the 2 stepsons. Do you have any kids of your own?
Yes, and I have a son who's 14.
A son. All right. That's awesome. Very cool.
Yeah.
That's excellent. Yeah. Okay. Now you can go back. We can start at the MTC and you can walk us through areas, companions, however you want to roll with it, but we'll talk about the mission. Yeah,
okay, cool. Okay. So the MTC was a great experience, really good, very, very spiritual. And a great learning experience, but also a bit overwhelming. There's so much to memorize. So I know you've spoken about this in your podcast a few times. So when I left, it was still that era where you had to memorize everything. It was pretty crazy. In fact, that got me into trouble a bit because fast forward slightly. So when you go up to Scotland and you go for that first meeting, the training meeting, and I've been like, I need to memorize all the discussions and things so I can hit the ground running. And you had a big list of things you meant to memorize. One of them was Doctrine and Covenants, Section 4. Right. You probably remember that. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so you get into this meeting and people have to lead that in reciting that scripture. And I was like, oh, well, that's okay. There's plenty of us here. I'll be all right. President Wilkinson was like, quick. Can you read us in Doctrine and Covenants Section 4? I was like, no, that looked terrible for the mission president for the first ever meeting.
That's pretty funny.
There was so much to memorize, though, wasn't there? Anyway, so yeah, it was the mission. So the mission home was good. It was a good experience. Pratt's Hill was just really unique, isn't it? I think you've mentioned that before. It's not something that every mission experiences, but I really like that. And I was in a not too big a group, but about 8 of us, I think. There was Elder Ames, I think it was Elder Fowler, Elder Gilmore, Elder Hanks, kind of the people, Elder Hare. There was a few of us who kind of went up to Scotland at the same time. But it was a cool place to be. I loved being in Scotland. For me, I was chuffed to be somewhere where there was like a different culture. So if I'd gone to Leeds or something, I'd have been really gutted. But Scotland felt like it was something a bit different. So I'd never been there before, so it was cool.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah, but it's a really, really nice. Yeah, and it was so the first bit of a mission was all about learning stuff. I think we mentioned before about the mission presidents. So I had exactly half of with President Wilkinson, half with then President Reams later on. And so that was really good because President Wilkinson, I don't know if it was because of his kind of leadership style or whether it was just because of the way missions were back then. It was quite full on. It was all about kind of obedience, about memorizing stuff, having to teach lessons verbatim from the discussions and things. The training was always very quite top down in terms of that kind of leadership style, I found. But it was really useful in terms of, I think if I'd have been allowed off the leash a bit too soon, I think maybe I'd have been a bit whoa. But actually, having all those discussions memorized, I think it kind of helped to kind of keep me kind of grounded there. And President Wilkinson was all about trying to be as strictly obedient as possible. Like the blessings come from turning to the Lord and being really obedient. So I think that was good. And then obviously President Reams then, who came in, and maybe because of his leadership style, or maybe just because he was new, it was kind of more of a ground up sort of approach. And so he was quite open to getting ideas from people, and that created a real buzz then, and people were all about kind of trying to, you'd have everybody would be sharing at zone conferences and stuff, like how you can do things better. It was all about innovation and stuff, and I love that. So yeah, it was good having both.
Yes. So who was your first companion?
So yeah, my first companion was Clayton Tuckett from Utah, and yeah, that was quite a funny companionship, really. Really lovely guy, and I like serving with him, but it was quite difficult. It's funny, really, because I've been thinking about this. I like to use humour and things to try and kind of bond with people. That's my thing, and but I'd be kind of like trying to make a bit of a joke, and it'd be like kind of really stony face. I'm like, man, what's wrong with this guy? You can't break him. It wasn't until afterwards I realised that poor guy. I mean, he'd been out for about 8-9 months and just about mastered the Scottish probably. And I turn up with my northern accents. I don't think he understood me. I genuinely think he couldn't understand what I was saying. So he just mastered Scottish, and then he gets me. Poor guy.
That is funny.
So yeah, it was hard going. So when I went into the mission there, we had to, when I first got there, he'd had some companions who'd, let's say, were a little bit less than diligent, and we got there, and the place had been trashed. The kind of the flat was just, there was little pellets and things from little kind of guns and stuff.
Oh my goodness!
There was.
What area?
This is in Edinburgh. So I started in Edinburgh in the Grantham area. So my first experience, I got off the train, did this meeting, went back to the flat, and we spent our day just cleaning the flat because it was just gross. And then went out for a D.A. and had leaps and tatties and
nice,
and
a good Scottish meal.
Yeah, and haggis. That was my first meal.
Right away.
Right away. I think that was the intention, was to try and freak me out by kind of haggis. But I enjoyed, and it was fine.
That's great.
So yeah, that was cool. So we served. It was really hard going. We chapped a lot of doors. We worked. One week we were doing like 49 hours of chapping and stuff. It was pretty hardcore, and we were getting nowhere. We were teaching like 7 discussions a week if we were lucky. It was harsh. When one thing though I did do, which was really beneficial, it took me down to Prince's Street in the middle of Edinburgh, GQing. Oh my goodness, that was so hard. I don't know what your experience was with GQing.
I'm with you. Terrible.
It was hard. And so you're trying to stop people, and they're like, just leave me alone, you nutter. And yeah, just for Aidan, it's just swamped by people. I just felt so overwhelmed. But I remember someone talking to MTC about this and talking about the need to pray. So I was just in my head, I was just crying out to Heavenly Father to bless me. And then I felt impressed to stop this guy who was actually Muslim. But his name was I think his name was Ibrahim or Abraham. I think he told me it was Abraham. It might have been Ibrahim. But anyway, so I started talking to him about Abraham and Isaac and about Jesus Christ. And I remember he really softened and gave me his details. And later on, missionaries went to see him. And it was just a great kind of faith boost that actually, if you put the effort in, it'll turn out.
That's
Agreed.
amazing. Those miracles happen when you're new in the mission. You get that little boost to keep you going.
Yeah, I mean, it hadn't been that easy. So, because I was in Edinburgh for quite a long time, about 6 months, every time new missionaries came in, we'd be kind of sent out to kind of grab one and take them out tracting. And you had some really amazing experiences because they're just so bright and shiny, these guys.
Right.
And you'd knock on the door and the person would open it and they'd look at me and he'd be like, "Ugh." And suddenly just be like this moment, and the guy next to you, and they'd be like, "Oh," and they suddenly start listening to you. It was just incredible. I never got any of that, unfortunately. In my first area, it was pretty much graft for the first 6 weeks. But then we had an interesting experience again, because my next companion, who ended up joining the both of us, was Joseph Oliver. We had a few issues with his companion, and so the president felt it was probably best for him to kind of go somewhere else for a bit. So he got dropped in with us. So we were a 3-man companionship then in this flat. And that stayed that way for an extra 3 months. So for 2 transfers, there was 3 of us.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that was pretty bonkers. And there was, I mean, I love the guys to bits, but back then there was a lot of personality clashes, shall we say? So it was it was an interesting period of time together. But we had some great experiences, did some great teaching actually. We had this little technique of going to the botanical gardens because it's in the summer.
Yeah.
Because there was 3 of us, you'd see someone on a bench, and then what you do is you walk past, and then 2 would just keep walking, and 1 would just sit down next to them and start a conversation. Like covert teaching. We taught so many people though.
That's really cool.
Yeah, actually had some really good discussions that way. But yeah, that was good. So that was those guys. Then eventually they left, and then it was just me then, and I was joined by Patrick Mann, who was just a legend. Really loved that guy. He was really fun, really funny. He had quite a fun sense of humour. He liked to drop you in it. I can share an experience about that in a minute. This is Christmas time, and so we've moved to a new flat by then. It was really Dickensian looking. It was like being in Christmas Carol. Just amazing.
Nice.
And he was really, we had lots of laughs, but we worked really hard. Like I said, I'm a bit intense, and I was like, I wanted to be there. I didn't want to waste any time. And he kind of humoured me, and so we worked like super hard. But we had loads of fun on the way because, like I say, he was quite. I'll share a couple of experiences to kind of give you a bit of an insight into this. So we're in this flat, and there was a guy across the way who used to walk about in the nude. I'd be like, it's him again. So anyway, we decided we'd send him a Christmas card. So we sent a Christmas card to the naked guy across the street.
What did you put on the card? That hey, we've seen all your business. We'd love to meet you in person.
I can't remember what was on. I think it was a snowman with just a scarf on. And so we put in it this card. We thought of you because he's not wearing many clothes either.
That's so good.
And for about a week afterwards, he had his shutters down. But after that, he just gave up and carried on. So yeah,
so funny.
That's brilliant.
So yeah, he was really funny. But so in Edinburgh, there's a missionary there. You need to get on, Elder Munson, and he was such a good guy. Like so. Because I'd come across lots of missionaries in my journey, because I'd been through so many missionaries, kind of bash with them as an investigator. I kind of had this impression of what I thought a good missionary would be like. And when I got into mission, there was Elder Munson there, and he was just this archetypal missionary. He was just really obedient, just a good guy. And so yeah, it was good serving around him. But I remember Elder Mann pranked him once because there was this sister. I won't name names, but Elder Munson was worried that she used to give him like a funny look when she saw him. And anyway, so Elder Mann was the ladies quite liked him. He was kind of like the Michael Bublé of the S.E.M, I think. But anyway, so this woman had given him this like gift with like this little kind of stuffed toy with big hugs written on it. And obviously he didn't want it. So he liked to re-gift things. If he got gifts from people he didn't like, he'd re-gift them. So anyway, this sister, we gave it to her as like, went to her house for a birthday party because it was her birthday. And we kind of wrapped up and gave it to her as a birthday present. But Elder Man told her that Elder Munson had chosen it for her.
Oh my gosh.
Which was super awkward, but we were just laughing. We were howling about it afterwards. Anyway, yeah, so that was Edinburgh. We had some good times there. One of the good things was we actually baptised, which was really cool. It was a Thai family, so we were part of the Thai family. They were so cool. They were really looking for the gospel. And yeah, we taught them, and they were baptized. It was the mum and the son got baptized, and that was just really beautiful. Unfortunately, they didn't stay very long. She had some kind of things she was working through, and I think that got the better of her really. But it was a really good experience. And actually, in every area I served in, I taught Thai people, which is just bonkers in Scotland at that point in time.
Sure.
Even on the Isle of Lewis, which is mental.
Interesting.
That's cool.
Yeah. So that was Edinburgh. Yeah, lovely place. Enjoyed that. And then I went to Aberdeen. That was my next area. So, which that was probably that was probably a real hard time for me as a missionary. I think I know that some people really love Aberdeen, which is cool. I just didn't gel with it at all. So my companion was Elder Wolstenholme, good old Kenny. And he was he was an interesting character. We got on reasonably well. We had a lot of kind of humorous things in common. We like things like Monty Python and stuff, and so we'd kind of laugh about stuff like that. But he had a few issues. I think he struggled a bit as a missionary. He struggled with insomnia as well, so it meant we couldn't get out so much as I would like to. And that caused me a lot of frustration. As I said, I wanted to make every moment count, and so being in the flat was just it was so hard. And the area didn't really get off the ground. It was always kind of a struggle area, and I always felt very isolated there. So it wasn't the greatest of areas, but I mean, because of the struggle, I think it did bring me to the Saviour more. So I think there was some benefits to being there, but missionary work wasn't one of them, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And so I served with Kenny for 3 months. Then it was Elder Mannon, and he was fun. He was a quirky guy, but I liked him. I think he broke horses to pay for his mission. He was a proper cowboy.
Wow.
And he had his own lasso and stuff, and he kind of, we had like zone activities. He'd take his lasso and be like kind of throwing it around and stuff.
That's great.
So he was cool. Yeah, so that was Aberdeen. I mean, there's been mentioned before the ill-fated Slains Castle expedition with the car. And what's really interesting is actually I had a camera at the time. Back in the day, it was ones we had to kind of roll it around to get your next shot. It was one of those little capsules you put inside it and stuff. So I got a picture somewhere of the exact moment when the car broke. Because I took this picture just as it went. If this picture had sound with it, you'd hear the clunk of the of the car going.
That's so good.
Yeah. So I've got photographic evidence. Yeah.
Yeah, you find that, send us a copy, because we definitely heard multiple perspectives, and we served up there in that area, Zach and I. So
yep.
we were warned, park the car and walk. So.
Yeah, we walked that track out to the castle, and we were looking for the boulder that the other missionaries had hit in the middle of the track. That's how much it was.
It was a pothole, so there's like these big old holes.
Oh, okay.
In this photograph, it's filled with water, so you can see it, there's water spraying out, and then if you could hear the sound, it'd be like this immense sound of car wreckage.
So your goal was to capture the spray of the water. I
don't know what I was even photographing. Just happy accident, I guess. I was just taking a picture and zooming through this thing and caught it.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
Yeah, it was fun times. Fun times, yeah. So that was Aberdeen, really. again, a total Thai person there, so it wasn't all bad.
Nice.
It's my highlight, I think. So yeah, it was an interesting place. So after that, then went to Glasgow, and at that point, then I was paired with Elder Candido, who had actually been in the MTC with. So that was quite fun. And again, I think because I'd not been able to be as active as I wanted to be in Aberdeen. By the time I got to Glasgow, I was like, come on. So poor Elder Candido, I don't think you know what hit him, bless him. Because he's quite a chilled out sort of guy, and laid back sort of guy. And I turned up, I was like, right, we're out, we're doing this. And so we worked pretty hard. But he was great. He had this tradition of he'd always want to come home at the end of the day, and he'd buy an apple pie from Tesco. And so we'd have apple pie and ice cream. That was his thing, planning while doing apple pie and ice cream.
Nice.
That sounds great.
Can't knock it. It's really good. But yeah, Glasgow was really cool in that you could teach lots of people. There was so many people there. There's you could find a lot of interested people. And I really liked that. I liked the fact you could teach loads of discussions. You could really bear your testimony. You had loads of. It was just an interesting place to be. Culturally, I think it was quite a rough place to live. Lots of kind of dangerous stuff around, but I didn't feel any of that when I was there, thankfully. It was very, very anti-religion in many ways. You'd meet a lot of atheism. Remember some kids once approaching us and saying to us, "Hey, do you believe in Father Christmas?" And I'm like, "No." It's like, "Why do you believe in Jesus then?" I was like, "Whoa." These are like 8 or 9 years old kids. I was like, "You're way too young to be that cynical." What's that all about?
That's right.
Yeah, and it was, but yeah, but I think people were right because to at least to listen, because I think it was such a grimy kind of city to live in. I think people did want a bit of hope, so sometimes they'd be willing to listen to you and hear the gospel and stuff.
Right.
So yeah, I was with Candido for a bit, and that was good. Did a lot of work, played a lot of football. He's quite a keen footy player.
Nice.
So that was good. And then Elder Austin. So then Elder Austin was an ex-companion, good old Nathan. And so went to pick him up. Yeah, Elder Austin was lovely, but very, very shy. I don't know what he was like when he served with you, Jack.
Still reserved.
Yeah, he was. Well, he was super. I think he was a bit kind of overwhelmed because he'd only been a member of the church for about, I think, a year before he went on a mission, and he was a very shy person anyway. So he just didn't speak, and so I'd go out tracked and just be like, "Oh, I'll do it then, shall I?" Yeah, he didn't talk a lot at all, and so it was quite hard. Do I? Yeah, no, I won't. I won't go.
Yeah, we haven't had him recorded on the podcast, but we have visited with him. So
have you really?
We have, yeah.
So if you get the opportunity, we'll encourage him again to come on.
Yeah.
And when it's published, we'll share with him too. So
well, that'd be nice. Actually, I think it'd be good to hear his story. I mean, yeah, I think that's one thing I like about you guys. You put people at ease, and actually, this isn't about kind of being the archetypal kind of LDS person. Like I felt a bit kind of intimidated. Do I go on this show because I'm not the life journey of everybody else. I'm not like kind of born and raised, not got a wife and 6 smiling kids in the photos. I'm like, should I really be on this? But I think it's nice that you actually encourage everyone to come on and you put people at ease. So it's nice. And I think he should come on and share his story because I think he's a bit of a legend myself. So he struggled, and I hope he doesn't mind me sharing this, but obviously I think because of the just being out there, mission's hard, there's a lot expected of you, and he struggled a bit, and there's a number of times where he wanted to go home, and I had to try and persuade him to stay out. I remember encouraging him to bear his testimony at testimony meeting, thinking, when you share your testimony of the Saviour, that tends to then help you to feel the Spirit yourself. Anyway, he did it, bless him. And after that, things changed, and he was amazing. Like, I remember being on the bus once, like UK. I don't know if it's like in the States like this, but in UK culture, you don't talk to people on the bus. Okay, it's just it's like someone sitting next to you and starts talking to you on the bus. You're like, what's wrong with you? Don't you know? You don't talk to people on buses, right? And so I found it so hard to talk to people on buses because I'd be like, it was like culture has felt wrong to do it, to start bothering people. I remember him having a conversation with someone on the bus about the Saviour, and I thought, good man, that's amazing. And he stuck it out. He finished his mission. He did Edinburgh Mission, trained Jacks, did a great job there, clearly. So yeah, I just think he's a legend for doing that and staying with it. So that was cool.
Agreed.
Yeah, so that was good. That was a good experience. Again, we baptised in that area. A lady called Alice, from, well, she was a bit naughty, really. She was from Uganda, but she pretended she was from Rwanda because then she could then stay in the country. But she was a nice lady. What I liked about her was because she was from Africa and she was very familiar with the scriptures and stuff. I remember saying at one point, first of all, when I started meeting you, I thought, oh, you're just these guys who to the book and just, think you know it all. But actually, as she listened and she kind of participated in discussions, I think she really came to understand that there was something special about what we had to offer, and she was baptised in the end. Again, I didn't hear much from her. She disappeared because she was a single parent with a small child, and I think she disappeared back to London or somewhere after that and disappeared off the face of the earth, unfortunately. But it was a nice experience for Elder Austin as well, I think, to see someone kind of get baptised and stuff. But yeah, lovely lady, cool. A nice experience. Glasgow was fun. I mean, the members there, they got quite a interesting sense of humour.
It's true. It's very true.
They're quite cheeky, aren't they? And their humour is very, very dry and quite, yeah.
Yes, indeed.
But yeah, they were lovely, and some really great experiences there, serving there. Lovely, some lovely discussions. Anyways, after that, then went from Glasgow, where everyone was like kind of mostly atheist and had some issues there, up to the Isle of Lewis, where it was like polar opposite, where you're like people were just super religious and a lot of Pentecostal people and people who thought that we were kind of sent from the devil. So that was like really, really different kind of experience again then. So yeah, you kind of try and stop people on the street and be like, I can't talk to you. My minister said if I talk to you, I'm going to hell. Oh, okay.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, and I mean the membership there was amazing. They had a small branch, and everyone who was there, they were quite solid. There's only like, I don't know, there was less than 30 people there. There's probably about 25 people there. But you had to be strong to stay going to church there because the opposition was so fierce. And so I had a lot of respect for them for that. Yeah, it was a really cool place to be, just very different. A place with no trees. It's just...
That's right.
And horizontal winds and horizontal rain. So when you're up there, like I was there around Christmas time, so it's cold, and the rain would hit you horizontally, so like right in your face, like it stink. Like I remember coming back once from a day chapping, and my face was like tingling for the whole day afterwards, just because of all this rain that had been hit by it.
Wow!
But it was fun though, good to be there, very dramatic and. Yeah, quite a special place to be. And again, taught some cool discussions. We had some people who were teaching who'd been taught by previous missionaries, but they were really cool. So there was Terry and his partner Jackie, and they needed to get married before they could be baptized. And he'd had some kind of an experience where he knew definitely the church was true, and so he really wanted to be baptized. But she had a few reservations, and also I think there was some difficulties in their relationship, which meant that it was a bit of a challenge for them. But they were really cool. They invited us over, and I can remember one experience. There was a guy called Andrew. What's his last name? He was a minister down in London somewhere, and he was very, very fiercely against the church. And he'd worked out that all the missionaries' cell numbers were the same apart from the last couple of digits. And so he took it upon himself to try and ring all of the missionaries and try and persuade them to abandon the church.
Oh my
I
god,
remember that.
I do remember that too.
Is he still going then, was he?
Yeah,
Okay.
so he, at least when I was training Zach, he had a restraining order against him from the church, and so he moved to France so that he could continue harassing the missionaries from there.
Interesting story. Do you know where the restraining order came from? This is funny. So he got hold of someone's number. He called somebody, and by this point we were on to him. And so this one of the missionaries, I can't remember who it was now for the life of me, they decided they'd just get their own back. So they kept him on the line as long as they possibly could to wear out his phone bill. So every time we tried to kind of keep up the conversation, they'd get another one going and rile him up so he starts some more. Anyway, they did that for so long. They kept on the phone for like an hour and a half, 2 hours, something like that. Anyway, he was so annoyed that he actually went up to their church and started protesting outside the church. And I think that's when he got his restraining order.
Oh my gosh. Brilliant though, to just milk his phone bill until it was zero and run out of minutes. And
yeah, it was interesting because he called me. I mentioned that because he called me while I was in this couple's house, and I remember speaking to him on the phone. I could just feel this darkness when he was speaking. It was really, you could tell whether he was directly or he was definitely indirectly influenced by the adversary, but you could just feel this darkness when he was trying to talk to me. And I was trying to kind of answer his questions, or trying to, in the background, Terry was like saying, "Tell him it's true. Tell him it's true."
It's funny.
Which was awesome. Great. It was really awesome.
Who is your companion up there?
Sorry, yeah. So I had two companions there. I wasn't there that long. I was there with Elder. Oh no, the names just escaped me now. That's really bad. I knew him for 6 weeks. Oh, that is terrible. I had 3 Welsh companions in a row. So I had Austin, then I had, that's really bad, this chap, and then I had Elder Bergen afterwards, which was fun. Daniel Drummond, that was it.
There we go.
There you go.
Got there in the end. Yeah. So he was a nice guy, but again, I was living for 6 weeks. So Elder Drummond and then Elder Bergen. So yeah, they were lovely. Quite short companionships. And funny thing, actually, it's a little daft story. So while I was up there, we had as missionaries, you're such geeks, aren't you? And someone had left behind in the flat this Lord of the Rings edition of Risk. And so I used to play it all the time. And I was there over Christmas time. And so you had a lot more kind of downtime and kind of like extra P days and stuff. So we were playing this game like crazy. It was ridiculous. Anyway, with Elder Bergen, we got to this point where we realised that after we'd be playing it all day in preparation day, we just get up in the morning and start playing this Lord of the Rings Risk. And then obviously the time would come up and we had to go out then. And we realised that we were spending the rest of our time trying to think about our strategies for how we're going to beat the other guy. And so eventually we had to actually put this game away because it was distracting us from missionary work.
It was like the real Ring.
Yeah. My precious.
I love it.
Yeah, so it was mad. But yeah, what I like about that was it was this elder, it was the President Wilkinson's thing, because he was talking. Once you had this thing about how somebody would just kind of playing golf on the mission, and that's all they would think about, and talked about things that poked at your spirit. And I think that kind of must have made its way into my head somewhere, because I finally kind of put this thing away and actually focus on the real thing, which was good.
That's great.
I loved. We were able to be quite creative up on the Isle of Lewis, which I really enjoyed. And we did lots of activities with the members. We did we kind of made we kind of did some like firesides and things. Obviously, had very few members, so we try and find ways to kind of bring unity and stuff. Once had a Who Wants to Be a Celestial Millionaire evening, and did some daft stuff with that. Nice. It was really good fun. But it was lovely because up there you had people who really knew the scriptures, who were quite spiritual, and so you could really kind of have some really deep spiritual discussions with people, even if they weren't particularly interested in joining. and it gave you a chance to really kind of, to really teach people and really find out what they wanted and kind of ask them questions and stuff like that. I loved it. I loved it. It's a special time, isn't it, to teach the gospel? It's a real privilege.
Yeah.
And the spirit you feel in those meetings when you're with people, and it's just palpable, the spirit that you feel. So it felt like a real honor for me.
It's awesome.
Good.
And after that, so that was Isle of Lewis, and then went down to Cumbernauld to finish off. I know that Jack's got some. I could see him kind of almost wincing there when I mentioned the name.
That's right.
I loved Cumbernauld. I loved it. I mean, it was really rough, really rough. I mean, you must be familiar, Jack, with that saying that there's a place called Carbrain that was part of it, and there was a saying that Carbrainers steal your trainers. And they did steal. They would literally steal your trainers. It was a rough old place, and as I mentioned before, ugly as it was a really ugly place. But yeah, it was fun. I loved being there. Again, that was the one area I think where taught just so many really rich, deep discussions with full families. At one point, we had a family who invited their extended family around, so we could teach them all at one go. Just incredible. Really cool place. The members were lovely, although at that time there's a lot of contention in the ward, like really bad contention. It was the adversary was really kind of working his way through the ward at that time. As we put a light on, it's a bit dark. And so the members all hated each other. And so it made it really hard because you have all these people who you want to get to church, but there's no way Heavenly Father's going to send them there into a battle zone. So we spent a lot of time trying to build unity there and just get to know the members. But they were all lovely. Like I absolutely loved them to bits. They were so cool. We had all these people were teaching that were really nice as well, but just couldn't get them to church. It was really frustrating. But I had some great companions there. So Elder Kramer, I served with him. Who Elder Kramer? How do I go there? I mean, I know he's in your group, wasn't he, Jack?
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
So he's a bit of a quirky character. I mean, I really liked him. We got on well. I think going on a mission for him was an expectation. I think I'll leave it at that. It was an expectation for him. He had a lot of pressure from his family to go.
He was incredibly homesick.
Yeah,
more than most.
Yeah. I don't know that he really wanted to be there at all. But he was good. He worked with me, and we still did a lot of work, and he was fine, and we had a bit of a laugh and stuff. It was good. But I think it was a challenge for him. But yeah, while we were together, we kind of worked, and that was okay. Then I got Elder Richards, good old Dave Richards, for 6 weeks, and that was a real breath of fresh air, because he was so. He was just I trumped him out. He left 6 weeks before I did. So he was a very experienced missionary, a fantastic teacher, just amazing. So I'd had Elder Kramer, who kind of did do a bit of teaching, but he had some struggles there. And I had some times on mission where I had to lead a lot. Well, Elder Richards, it was just like you could just kind of sit back and let him just set him on them, and he'd just do it. He'd do his thing. He was amazing. I mean, I remember there was times when we were teaching people, I'd be trying really hard to teach them. They'd be a bit like, whatever. And then David would just start opening his mouth, and they'd be like, just hanging on his every word, just glued to him. He's just a real powerful gospel teacher, he is. Actually, funnily, during the pandemic, he had his own kind of come follow me little group he did online. And I used to join in with those, and some really spiritual experiences there. Just on those, he's just got a gift for gospel teaching. But yeah, he was really good. We did a lot of teaching there, and it was interesting because we had some different approaches and things. I mean, I remember him once taking me on a Nephi walk. It was good, just that Nephi went out not knowing what before and what he's meant to do. And Dave's like, "Yeah, it's one of those. Pray about it, just go walking." What?
That's a unique thought. I love it, though. That's really, really well done.
Yeah, you're not getting much inspiration, and just go out and just wander around until you get it. I suppose. I think that's his approach. But on one occasion, but we did come across a really cool family who were less active, and had been for some years, and they became really kind of quite interested again in the gospel, which was brilliant. I think that might have come. I think we were wandering back to the flat one night, and we'd kind of just by chance come across somebody who happened to be a member of their family, and they said, "Oh yeah, we used to go to church, but we don't now, and it'd be nice to kind of do that again." And so we then spent ages then trying to find out where that person lived. They were in that general area. Let's just knock doors around there until we find them. And we did find them, and it was cool. So they were a really lovely family. Yeah, it was a nice place to work. But yeah, watch your back there.
That's right.
Yeah. So 6 weeks. 6 weeks with Kramer, 6 weeks with Richards, and then your last 6 weeks with Schmidt.
That's it, yeah. Good old Cade Schmidt for the last 6 weeks again. Bless him. Yeah, he came out, and I was going home, so it must have been quite hard for him. Again, I tried to work really hard, even though it was tough. Like, there was no way you could. By the end of my mission, I loved GQing. I loved just stopping people. I loved the immediacy of it. If you're not interested, find the next person. Do you know what I mean? You can have really good discussions. By that point, I knew how to kind of help people to open up a little bit. There was no way to do that in Cumbernauld. So you either had to get permission or do some kind of a zone activity in Glasgow. Or you were stuffed. That was all you could do, was just knock on doors. And that gets really old. And by the time I get to the end of the mission, you're just like, I can't do it. I can't do any more doors. So every morning I would get up and because I was training Elder Schmidt, so I didn't want him to have a bad experience. So every morning I'd get up and I'd just beg the Lord to bless me with the motivation to go and knock on some more doors. But we did it, and actually we had some great experiences there. And he was fun. He was a bit of a joker as well. He played a few pranks on me. He wasn't green, put it that way.
Love it. That's
great. Yeah, I of course I followed you into that area, so I was Cade's second companion, and I was amazed at the relationships you guys had built with people, just all over the place. Really, we'd go visit, we'd have dinners with non-members, and great time just visiting with people that you all had built relationships with. That was really great for an area like that, where you weren't, like, there was no town center that had any access to people. And
well, there's a building on stilts which you classed as a town center. What the heck? Yeah, it was a lovely place. I mean, yeah, I think in that area, I mean, in all the areas I've been in, you feel charity and you feel this great love for people. But there, it was just, I really enjoyed it. I felt like I could connect with people, and it was really nice. Yeah, that was kind of a really cool time. But yeah,
wonderful.
Yeah, so yeah, Elder Schmidt was cool. He was a nice guy. No, I was gonna really drop him in it then, but I'm not going to. I'm gonna be good. I'm gonna be kind. I'm trying to hold back.
Oh, come on, Martin. I know that if you share it, it'll probably get Cade to come on the podcast. So
I don't think
we've been in contact with him as well, and we haven't been able to get him to come on yet. So
I need to goad him into coming into her.
Maybe.
Okay, I'll do one. With this is quite gentle. This is like where you kind of got one on me, really. So we go to this guy's house. It's this non-member guy who's what they call an internal investigator. And he's a very quirky character, really quirky. Couldn't quite work him out at all. But he really wanted the missionaries over, so we kind of obliged. And he quite often feeded this kind of. It wouldn't be very nice, shall we say, the food. Like, sometimes he'd make this really hot curries, and I lived in Manchester where there was like a literal curry mile, and I used to like quite really spicy food.
Yeah.
But he'd just like kind of bang all this stuff on the plate. There's like raw peppercorns and things in there. It was a bit grim.
Whoa.
And so we'd go around there, and I'd try my best to eat it and kind of finish the plate. Anyway, so this one time we've been invited to his for a D.A. We invited somebody else's for a D.A. before that. So we were like,
Oh no.
what the heck? We'll just do it anyway. So we went to his first member's house and we were like eating food. It was really nice. So we were kind of tucking in. I went to his house, feeling quite full and thinking, well, it's not going to be the end of the world if we don't eat so much there. This one time he'd put on this really lovely spread, and I was like feeling so guilty. I was like, oh no. Now of all days, he decided to make something nice for us. So anyway, poor Elder Schmidt, he was like really struggling because I was used to kind of the feast and famine. I knew how it went, and I could put away 2 meals quite easily. But so I couldn't finish this meal, but I did pretty well. And then Elder Schmidt, he's like, they're struggling. Anyway, I thought, we've been there for ages, so I went across to start trying to talk to this guy and try and get a discussion going. And I felt bad for Elder Schmidt, but I thought I'm going to leave him there like some beach whale. Anyway, a bit later on, he kind of comes in with this like little cheesy grin on his face. And I was like, I didn't think too much of it at the time. But anyway, when we got back to the flat, he told me what he'd done. He'd actually piled all his food onto my plate, so I looked like a big waster, and he looked like he's finished his food.
Was that Allie? Teresa?
Yes.
Over there? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
So Cade loved going there. Like, loved it.
Did he?
Yeah. He made sure we went every Sunday when I was his companion.
Really? Oh wow. I don't know why, because he couldn't
I don't know why either.
Couldn't teach much, and I mean, bless him. It was nice that he fed us, but yeah, he was a quirky character.
It was very interesting.
Yeah, I couldn't quite. Anyway, but yeah, it was nice that he invited us, and yeah, maybe at some future point, he will make some progress in that way. But yeah, so that was kind of all my areas. But I had so many. One thing as a reflection, actually, I was this is something that kind of I've been thinking about as I've been listening to the podcast. I was thinking that because it took me so long to get on a mission, and I was like, why? I'm ready to go. I'm near at the cutoff point. I'm an old duffer here. Let me go. And I had to wait all that time. But I really feel like that, we've got on a mission. You put there because there's people put there for you, and It's the right time. But I also think there's something about companions. Think about if you'd have gone out on your mission 6 weeks, 6 months later, you would have missed those opportunities to interact with those people. So maybe that's why. But I think I got a lot from each of my companions, and they probably got more than they expected from me. Bless them.
That's great. So you talked a little bit about President Wilkinson and some of your experiences there. How about the Brainses? Any particular memories with them?
Oh yeah, I mean, both mission presidents. I'm mission presidents' wives. I really looked up to them a lot. They were really cool. So good old Randy Wilkinson was just super diligent. He was this he was like the Rocky Balboa of mission presidents, wasn't he? He was solid. He was super committed, super obedient, and he kind of very much about preparing the inner vessel before you start trying to kind of go out and do anything, which was great. President Vreens was just lots of fun. Yeah, he was like get the mission, you get the call from him when you're about to go home, and he's introducing you to your 300-pound wife, his general companion, and stuff like that. He's like, what? Can you even say that? But he did it, and Sister Vreen, she was the same with a little pig nose thing she put on in zone conferences to remind you to clean your flat and stuff. They were just very quirky. But I've met them since, actually. I went out to the States my one and only time, and I hooked up with them, and that was really nice to see them both. But yeah, they're really nice. And again, like I say, I think it was interesting, the mission change. It went from being very much memorizing stuff, doing things rote, being strictly obedient, to then things opening up and being able to try and do things in a more spiritual way and do things as the Spirit's prompting you, and being able to be a bit more innovative and stuff. And I think the Marines really helped to shape that. And I was really grateful for that as well. So yeah, I benefited from both approaches, I think.
Yeah, great. Well, is there anyone else you want to call out that we need to get on here?
I don't know, really. I've mentioned some cool people there. There's lots of people I looked up to, and many of them have been on the program already. Nice listening to Adam Menino.
Yeah.
He's a real spiritual giant and someone everyone looked up to. It'd be nice to get other Munson on, see what he's up to these days. Patrick Mann, see if you can get him on. That would be fun. Yeah, I think maybe Austin, so we can get him on here. Maybe I'll do a part 2 if Kay doesn't come on. I'll really dig the date.
There we go. That's great. Well, Martin, we really appreciate you taking the time to come on and visit with us. And we love you as our brother in Scotland, but also as our father, right? You're our
right. That's right.
We got the genealogy going here, and I'm appreciative, like you said, the timing of how things worked out for you to come in, and you set a precedence with a couple of my companions that then fed over to me, which I really appreciate. That work ethic that you brought was apparent, and so that's great, and we love you.
Yeah, likewise. Thank you so much, and thank you for this podcast. I mean, I think it's lovely. Anything that kind of connects people together is a good thing, and I think that the way in which you're so sincere and the way in which you both kind of you're sincerely interested in the people that you interview, and I think that makes a big difference. So thank you.
Oh, it's great.
Yeah,
we love it.
We definitely are sincerely interested because this is such a fascinating and fun thing to talk about. Now 20 years removed for many of us, and we've had a lifetime between the mission and now, and thankfully many of us still have our journals somewhere or have a memory to remember some of our fond times in the mission. So it's been a lot of fun, and I just got to say thank you to you, Martin. I know that initially you were a little hesitant to come on, but you did fill out that contact sheet and you're like, all right, let's do this. And you built up the courage, and we're grateful for individuals like yourself that give us that time, because this doesn't happen without people like yourself. So again, thank you for being our brother in Scotland and coming on with us today.
Pleasure. Thank you so much.
All right. We'll see you later.
Cheerio, Martin. Love you, brother.
And you. Bye.
Bye now.
Bye.